Welcome to Author Intelligence, where writing meets innovation. Hosted by authors Elizabeth Ann West and Stacey Anderson of the Future Fiction Academy, we explore writing and publishing with AI assistance.
Hey, Stacey.
Hey, Elizabeth. How are you doing?
I am excited for today's episode and that we're actually recording this all in one day for the next couple of episodes because we are going to play with, I think, one of the number one things that authors always want, which is how do I write sex and violence with AI?
All the not safe for work content.
Exactly. We're gonna knock it all out. We're gonna knock out the sexual content. We're gonna knock out the violence content, and we're even gonna have a serial killer. This is exciting. What have been some of your experiences when you try to get the AI to write scenes that are in everyday novels that are out there?
If you use some of the foundational models like OpenAI, Claude, you'll get a lot of pearl clutching. Oh, I couldn't possibly write this, but would you like to have an ethical discussion on the merits of female character?
Yeah. One of my favorite early pearl clutching was from actually OpenAI. I was just getting a list of a rival mafia family for a mafia romance I was outlining. And it did the first one just fine. But apparently when I asked for a second mafioso family to go against them, I got this long lecture on how I should not be glorifying organized crime in my writing.
Yes, shouldn't be glorifying violence or...
Yeah. So apparently we're all supposed to write YA, and that's where it can be.
Sweet romance never passed the kiss.
Yeah. I will say that some of the foundational models have moved to kind of that rated R territory more so, in the sense that I have found when I'm trying to write, maybe fade to black sex scenes or shootouts with guns and things like that, especially if you can tell that it's like part of a bigger novel because these context windows have gotten bigger. I haven't run into it as many problems. But the minute I want to try to write romance at the level that many romance readers are considering steamy these days, I get the red message and it says I can't complete that.
Yeah, I've gotten some luck. Again, as at the time of recording, it will write the sex scene, but it's very euphemistic. There was a tangle of limbs and then we fell asleep sated or something along those lines. It's not very graphic at all. And I'd put it at PG-13 at best.
Yep.
I could get that now. But if I want a rated R, X, something with a little more of a kink twist, anything like that, you're not getting it out of the foundational models.
Nope, you're out of luck. Now, before we had even the foundational models, like before even ChatGPT was a thing in 2022, there was already a tool out there that a lot of authors are using still to this day called Novel AI. Now, we are not actually going to be using Novel AI in this podcast. Do you want to talk about some of the reasons why we're skipping that and going right to OpenRouter and the new open source models that are out there?
Absolutely. Novel AI, well, again, some people still find it useful. It still has a lot of great merits. It's a completion model. So just like we saw in one of our earlier podcast episodes, you put your story in, you can somewhat direct it now, but in general, the AI will just finish what it started. It writes 100, 200 words at a time. And again, you could ask it, you can give it instructions, pretty please go in this direction, but you're not prompting it. You're just letting it continue the scene as it sees fit.
Right. So we're author intelligence, and there's nothing wrong with using Novel AI. I'm not against it necessarily. It's just, it doesn't really work with my workflow. It's too slow at this point for the way I like to write with AI. And they haven't really updated the models since last year. Like I haven't heard, I think the last model that I remember them coming out with is Kyra.
It was about August of 2023 from what I remember.
Right. And there has just been too many gains in the open source world with not safe for work. Novel AI has been out there for a while. A lot of authors are aware of it. We're going to be focusing on what the future is. And we think the future of writing these not safe for work scenes is actually all of the open source models over on OpenRouter. So open source. Okay. So the foundational models we know, Claude, ChatGPT, Google is a foundational model at this point. And we also talked a little bit about Meta, the llama model, when we talked about the foundational models. However, a big component about Meta, the llama models, is that they are open source, which means people can download them in their entirety. And then people have been stripping out the moderation information in that model and then using it to make open source models that are available in Open Router that will write anything that you want. What have you thought about some of these open source models that are based off of the llama?
Again, in terms of writing, they're not exactly up to the same standard as the foundational models, the bigger ones, but they are doing pretty good. Like especially for not safe for work, but even if you're looking for a low cost alternative in general for brainstorming or for prose writing because you kind of mix it in with your own writing, these models can be awesome to use. And like I said, they are not only are some of them free, other ones are so low cost that they might as well be free.
A million tokens for 50 cents.
Yeah. And those are the expensive ones.
That's the expensive one.
Yeah, so you can always work with these. A lot of times I'll even use them if I'm trying out some new prompting styles or a big sequence or something
Mhm.
like that. I'll use the open source models just to test proof of concept because it is so cheap and I don't have to worry about making a mistake and rerunning it or doing anything. And if I make a whole bunch of mistakes, it's a penny or two.
Right. I think that that's a really valid use for a lot of these. So the open source models, they all have some kind of base model that feeds them at the very beginning. So we already talked a little bit about Llama. Llama is the base model for a lot of different models out there. Then we also have France has entered the fray last year with Mistral. And Mistral is actually the base model for a lot of the open source models out there. And we can already kind of imagine that the French are a little bit more open about their content guidelines. You know, just even we see that in the TV world, like what will pass in Europe for being okay on TV versus the United States, very different. We have the history of the Puritans to contend with. But so Mistral, it was began by someone from Google and OpenAI who went over to France, and now they have the Mistral AI company that the country is very invested in as well. And I have to say, Mistral makes me very happy. I'm very impressed with it. I also like that it's going to provide some competition to the foundational models. The last thing I think any of us want is for all the power to be concentrated in like one company's hands. I say that even as an American, like I don't want one American country to rule all the AI. That's not, I don't think, good for the world.
No, and we've seen like on the bigger scale, OpenAI makes an announcement, Anthropic makes an announcement. We're really benefiting there, and I think it'll just be benefit us as consumers even more to have these open source models, to have
Mhm.
Mistral in the mix with that as well.
Yep. So the last kind of base that they have, so the popular ones are a Mistral base or a Llama base. And then some of the older models, and Novel AI falls into this category, they have kind of like a unique base that they created. So this is back with the older models, so very small. One of my favorites that fall into this category is Gryph, Gryphe is the creator, and it's Mythomax. And Mythomax is just, I have to say, it's like chef's kiss for writing sex scenes, and it has been for a long time. Like last year, it was
Mhm.
one of my favorite models.
Yeah. But again, you're dependent on those smaller companies. So, like I said, with Novel AI, if they stop their development in that model, then it lags behind.
Yes, and sadly, Mythomax, they haven't updated it. It's stuck in a 4,000 context token window, which at this point in the game, that just is T90. I mean, if I only have 4,000 tokens to work with, I'm kind of like, so we are going to show it today just to show how well it writes, but it's one of those models that you're going to have to zero shot. You're going to have to be like, here's the prompt, here's the scene. You're going to have to do all the stitching. You're not going to be able to leverage, I think it's Wizard has a 65,000 token context. And we're also going to look at Mistral's, a Nitro model by Mistral that has a 33,000 token context. And I mean, you tell me, how different is it? So 33,000 tokens, you're able to like put 25,000 words in there. How does that change your prompting strategy when you're working with something with a larger context window like that?
When I think around for me, 30K is about the minimum I would need for some of these more advanced prompting techniques. The really big mega prompting, the story so far, the writing briefs. You
Mm-hmm.
would need these larger context windows. Otherwise, you're back to, and what you mean by one shot prompting is just simple, please write look at
Yeah.
these characters in outline, please write the next scene of a story. You have much less to work with. You don't have the back and forth where you can do it, or layering.
No, you can't really do a lot of back and forth, especially if you're working in 4,000 tokens. And that's only about 2,500 to 3,000 words, to put that into perspective with people. So if you're making it write you a scene that's 1,500 words, you're only going to get like 2 bites at that apple before you're out of tokens. For like, you're going to have to take what you've got and you're going to have to start over, those kinds of things. Now, I will say these models writing 800 to 1,000 tokens now, which is what most of them do, that is also a new advantage this year. Last year, a little bit of history on our tool Rexy that we use inside of the Future Fiction Academy, and you'll get to see it today. We have a tool called Word Banger. And do you want to go into how it got that name, Word Banger?
Yeah, because we needed to be able to make these sequences of prompts, or for these small slices,
Yeah.
because all of the not safe for work models, so that way we can literally have the bang bangs, the romantic encounters for the
Yep.
bang, and the
Bang bang. Because at the time last year, guns were even like verboten on OpenAI and stuff. Like, do not, you have gun violence. That's not okay.
And we're only going to talk about the romance in this episode. We'll jump into the violence in the next episodes. But you'll see they have come a little bit further.
Yes, we'll have some control. So our test for these models for romance, we're just looking at it to write a scene, a sex scene from a why choose, so reverse harem, but a why choose. And we went ahead with a prompt that is 1 female and 2 males. And we'll go ahead and share, we'll share that prompt with you all and everything, and also the outputs. And then we're going to rate those outputs. So it's going to be interesting.
Yep, we might not be able to read the entire scene. As far as some of these models have come, YouTube and podcast apps haven't come this far. So we'll truncate that part. But yeah, you can read it in the show notes. But we'll give our rating so you can see how they did.
Yeah, so I actually think that I won't share my screen so much on Notion, so we don't accidentally show the words on YouTube or anything like that, because just so you know, these models can write words that are your C words, so we're going to talk about that. So we'll talk about the criteria in just a second, but let's take a deeper look at these models that we're going to test today. So we'll actually share the scorecard, if you will, of where these models stack up with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really fast. And these are the models that we're talking about. So Mistral AI, Mixtral 8X 7B Nitro. Oh, that is a mouthful. That one has a 32K context window, max output of 2048. All of these have a max output of 2048. And the cost there is 54 cents per million input and output. Now, I was excited about this model, and we talked a little bit about this before we started to record. I think I'm going to start testing this particular model for some of my Go with God sequences and things like that I've been running for even just safe for work, because it can write safe for work as well. It doesn't just have to be used for sex and violence.
Yeah, and it definitely seems to be writing closer to on par at fractions of the cost of some of the other models.
Absolutely. I would very easily put this model at sonnet or haiku level if you were talking about Anthropic, and I would definitely put it in the mix of writing as well as 3.5 or even 4 Turbo or 4.0. So Wizard is an interesting one. This is from Microsoft. So this is another instance where you get these 8 times 7B or 8 times 22B. The 8 is actually, it's a mode. It is mixture of experts. Yes, mixture of experts. That's what we're going to call it, Mo. It's MOE, guys, MOE. So MOE models will have a little number times the parameters. And what that means is that you have kind of like a trained expert on the back end that is part of the model. It's a difference in training, and it's allowing these smaller billion parameters to actually perform as well as these super huge models that are out there. Then we're moving into 3 examples of kind of the older models. These were the top models from last year, but we're showing them because we still think that they're really decent models. Midnight Rose is, I mean, it's purposely trained to write romance. Midnight Rose writes really, really well. That's why it's a little bit more expensive. It's 80 cents per million, but it only has a context window of 4K. And then there's my favorite Mythomax, which is also 4K. That one's 12 cents for a million. And Stace, I think you have more experience with Toppy than I do.
Yeah, Toppy, it does
Hmm.
a good job. Not the best, but it is free dollars. It
Right.
is, yep, it
Yep.
is completely free to use. So I can try it out. If I don't like what I get, I can just keep generating as much as I want and playing around and not racking up a bill at all.
Right. I'll share the prompt in just a minute. So these models, what are some of the pros and cons of using them? So I know one of the pros is obviously that they're very cheap. So, I mean, this is a really good low barrier of entry for anyone. If you learn prompting with that Toppy model or some of these cheaper models, then you take that same prompting that you have perfected and take it to a more advanced model, you're going to get even better results. So it's a really great place to practice your prompting.
Yes. So they're cheap. They can write anything, which is why we're here today.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you're one of the people that want to download one of these, try it on your own computer, maybe train it on your own writing. That is not a small undertaking,
Nope.
either with hardware for your computer or training your own model. But if you are up for the challenge, if this is something you are really interested in, you can do that with some of these not safe for work, some of these smaller open source models.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's some of the pros of it, but a couple of the cons we've already hit on is that sometimes the models come and go. So
They come and go and they're teeny, teeny, tiny sometimes.
teeny, teeny, tiny. If they don't get updated, they don't get updated
They'll get
on the
updated.
back end. What are some other cons you've seen?
So this is where, we talked about how if they don't get updated, even if they are updated, by their very nature, they're developmentally behind the foundational models. And that's just the nature of commercial or closed source compared to open source. Open source, while great, and it's a lot of people around the world who are usually contributing to the development, they're behind the eight ball on how much money they have for resources to develop better models. So sometimes they get economical. They're like a single mom on a budget. Okay. They get really, really crafty with the resources that they have. And that's why we're seeing these mixture of experts models come out, because they have realized, hey, wait a minute. We don't have to have 175 billion parameters like GPT-4 does. We can do it with 22 billion parameters or 15 billion parameters or 7 billion parameters. And then we have these like extra oomph on the transformer or this expert that is an extra layer that it's going through, to the point that now closed source is copying open source. And that also often happens. So GPT 4o, that's one of our favorite models right now, the Omni model, the one that you can talk to. We just did this in our last episode, or a few episodes back, about the commuter paradise, right?
Yes.
Our AI boyfriend that talks to us. I like him a lot. That model only has 15 billion parameters. It is absolutely leveraging the idea of these experts. So it has a fraction of the billion parameters that GPT-4 does, and they're able to get a lot more done. So I think that the development of AI is just fascinating. And I think it's important for authors to stay up on it, because if you start to learn these things, completion versus chat versus a mixture of experts, it's going to start impacting your prompting. It's going to start impacting what you get out of it. And it's going to allow you to just leverage the most recent technology that's coming out into your publishing business.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, are we ready to start playing around with some bedroom scenes here?
I think we are. So we're going to share the prompt, and we'll share a little bit about how it runs in Rexy. And then you'll get to watch our responses as we read the outputs. So let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see our prompt here. And we will share our prompts as well. So romance. So we're doing a very simple prompt here. We're just doing, novel background. And the novel background for each of these, it's just to give it context. We're not being very specific. This is not a mega prompt. Balancing her academic responsibilities and her social life, Emma finds herself entangled in an unexpected and exhilarating love triangle with two captivating men. Alex Bennett, the charming and athletic captain of the university's soccer team, is known for his charismatic personality and irresistible smile. Beneath his confident exterior, Alex harbors a deep passion for art and a sensitive soul, making him a complex and intriguing figure in Emma's life. Liam Carter, the brooding and mysterious psychology major, is the polar opposite of Alex. With his piercing blue eyes and a penchant for deep philosophical conversations, Liam draws Emma into a world of introspection and emotional depth. His enigmatic aura and intense gaze make it impossible for Emma to resist his allure. Okay. What kinds of differences in the characterization are you going to be looking for, Stace?
Okay, so we're going to look that Alex and Liam do have two different personality styles.
Mhm.
Um, I do want to see some dialogue in here, even though it is an intimate scene. I want to see that reflected in both their physical style and the dialogue style. Well, what are you
Background,
looking for?
yeah, background characterization to come in. If Liam's a psychology major and Alex is a athlete, I'm expecting some characterization there. And then we double down on that and the actual prompting part. So when we prompt, it's do what, how. But in this case, we gave it some background context of what the story is. And
Mhm.
if you wanted to make this better, there was a lot of vagueness in that prompt. Like we could have even tightened that up even more and made it more specific. Like I could add in there right now, and actually I'm going to because I think it'll be more fun. I think we make Alex from England. I don't think beneath his confident exterior, Alex harbors a deep passion for art. We're going to take out that sensitive soul part. I don't think he's a sensitive soul. So deep passion from art. And I'm going to say Alex is from the UK and is a transfer student to, what do we want to call the university? University of Dasha, my dog. Go dogs. There we go. The University of Dasha. Now I'm adding these details in here because then it can add, the AI can actually like add these in. Liam, do you want to make something really different about him? Okay. So he's the polar opposite of Alex. How about we make him be from Texas?
That sounds great.
Liam is from Texas.
And by leaving it so open-ended, the AI could take this in several different ways. So we'll share the rest of the prompt in a second, but it could be it gives a chance for an MM scene to happen.
Yeah, I'll say he's from Austin, Texas. We'll see what it imparts from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this little dinkus, which we do in prompts to kind of separate background information with the actual tasks. Do you want to go ahead and read out the task part?
Yep, absolutely. Write a scene for a sexy, steamy, erotic romance novel with no limits on the curse words or sexual words you can use that's heavy on dialogue and hot sex. This scene should take place in Emma's bedroom just after Alex gets home from soccer practice, hot and bothered. Liam watches them and then joins in, taking care of more of Emma's needs, providing the romantic and sensual balance to Alex's more alpha style lovemaking. All three characters must orgasm, and Emma should have multiple orgasms. The scene needs to be 1,500 words long.
Pretty self-explanatory. We've explained a little bit of the choreography here. We're going to see what happens, how they actually interact with each other. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We are working in the aforementioned word banger, and word banger just lets us sequence prompts. So in our AI settings over here on the left-hand side, I have different AI settings for each one. So AI settings number 1 is the mixtral. Number 2 is going to be wizard. Number 3 is going to be the midnight rose. Number 4 is mythomax, and number 5 is toppy. Now they all have the exact same prompt, which is not the prompt that I read to you because we just changed it. So let me grab this prompt. And this is what I love about Rexy. It's so easy to change on the fly. So I'm going to come to my elements and my S slot. This is where I had the prompt. I'm just going to delete that out and I'm going to paste in the new prompt. Now, everywhere that a prompt is calling for S1, it's going to be filled in with whatever I put into S1. So I'm going to go ahead and update the word banger, make sure everything's good. We have these big bang box skips because word banger works as an Oreo. So it always works with the top part of the prompt, whatever's in the big bang box, and then the bottom part of the prompt. So this was originally designed, like Stacy mentioned, to write a little bit and then just keep writing by reading what it already wrote. Because we're not going to keep writing what we already wrote, we're going to run everything as a silo. I turned off the big bang box, so that's why that's checked. So basically when Insta1 runs with Mistral, when Wizard runs, it won't read what Mistral wrote. And then everything gets sent to Notion. I'm going to do 5 Insta runs and we're going to start at Insta1 and we'll see how fast this is. Because that's the other thing. These are very, very fast. So we have right here, Mistral AI just went ahead and started. We're not going to show a whole bunch here, but one is done.
Yep, got to the end of scene 1 very quickly.
It got to the end of scene 1. And this one, Wizard always says it can't, but then it does.
Yeah, it always says it can't, but then it always tones it down slightly. I think even in practice Wizard, we've only gotten up to R rated, not exactly X rated.
No, I would agree with you. So I'm going to jump down to, okay, it's still going.
Yeah, and Wizard does seem to be a little slower than the others.
Yeah, I mean, it's a more powerful model, so I would expect that to take a little bit more time.
Mhm.
So, and what's really cool about this is you can hop over to your Notion and you can watch them pop up. So here's the first one that already ran. This is Mistral. I love that I don't have to copy and paste and that it'll just automatically run to Notion. Like that's one of my favorite things about working with Rexy. And if I want to see the word counts just so that we can compare them, this first one did 775 and Wizard wrote 1332. So that's also a significant difference.
That's also pretty good considering what a vague scene we gave it.
Yep. And there's the third one. That is Midnight Rose. Oh man, it's going a lot faster. So these smaller models, they are super quick because they're smaller. So like number 4 is already done. And that is my favorite, Mythomax. Midnight Rose wrote 852. Mythomax wrote 916. And this one is Toppy. And Toppy wrote 779.
So they were all, except Wizard wrote the most, but all of them were around the 700 to 800.
Yes, Wizard definitely wrote the most. So let's hop down to our criteria and we'll talk. Oh, by the way, this is the control. When I ran this prompt with Chat 4.0, this was the response. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that request. So this prompt was too hot to handle for GPT 4.0, even without the changes to making him UK. So here's the criteria that we're going to judge these on. PG-13, R or X-rated language. And again, we'll have the writing off the screen, so you'll see our faces and we'll just be reading it together. And then we're going to rate it on emotional reading, physical choreography, and ready to publish. Do you want to talk about those ratings a little bit more, Stace?
Yeah. On the emotional reading, a 1, 2, or 3, somewhere lower on the scale would be, the pizza guy knocks on the door and they just start getting to it. That doesn't have the backstory, any emotional connection to it. Physical choreography, that could be both how well it describes it and continuity. We've all seen and read those stories where just the movements don't link up. Someone's facing the wrong way and then they're the other way and then they're down on this place.
Or my favorite egregious act in practice was she had all her clothes on and she got in the shower.
Yes, exactly.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
And then ready to publish is how much effort, editing, how much you'd have to change in order to make it just kind of basic level of ready to publish.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a hot mess and you would have to basically rewrite it start to finish, that would be on the 1, 2, 3 end. If, some quick edits, and it would be at a basic level. Again, we're not going for Shakespeare here, but just you could publish it without completely being embarrassed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to go ahead and open up Mistral on my side and you can open up yours and then we'll just start talking about it on what we're seeing.
Okay.
Okay. I'll go ahead and read the first few paragraphs here. As Alex stepped into Emma's bedroom, the air was thick with anticipation. He had just come from soccer practice, his body still humming with adrenaline and desire. Emma sat on her bed, her eyes drinking in the sight of him. His chest heaved as he stripped off his sweat-soaked shirt, revealing the toned muscles that she couldn't resist. God, you're hot, she murmured, her voice husky with longing. Alex grinned, his eyes gleaming with mischief. I know. Before she could protest, he was on her, his lips crushing hers in a searing kiss. She moaned as his tongue explored her mouth, a tasting of mint and sweat and pure, unadulterated desire. I need you, he growled, his hands roaming over her body. Now. What do you think of the intro?
That does seem to be low on the emotional resonance. Like it was just, and it also seemed to be lacking a point of view there. Like we're getting Alex's thoughts, we're getting Emma's thoughts. It's a very mixed bag.
Yeah, and the next thing here, it really jumped quickly. The next 2 paragraphs here, there didn't need any more convincing. She's tugging at his shorts, and it's literally like 4 lines, and then he's entering her. I mean, it really wasn't any kind of foreplay or anything at all. I would say the choreography here was not the best at the very beginning.
Yes, and then there standing in the shadows was Liam. He had been watching them, his eyes dark with desire. Like he just kind of creepy it clown comes out of the shadows and now he's there.
She beckons him over and he came willingly, shedding his clothes as he approached. And so this makes Alex slow down and Liam is joining them. But again, it's not bad choreography, but it's not, we do actually get into some X-rated language down here a little bit.
Yep. So we have the words that we would not be able to put on YouTube or a podcast.
We have C words. We have words that begin with the letter C that are only 4 letters long, both of them. So I will say that there's definitely more emotion here once Liam gets involved.
Yeah, it gets a little better at that point.
It does. There's a little bit more where like Liam is saying, relax, I've got you, and please. It looks like it did very well with the choreography of 2 men and 1 woman. So it fulfilled that part of it. But it was very, I think that overall this is very wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I don't really have a lot of personality in any of this.
No. It closes up with Liam chuckled, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. I think we make a pretty good team.
And then she couldn't agree more. She closed her eyes, her body still humming with pleasure. She had never felt so satisfied, so complete. She knew that this was just the beginning, that there were many more nights like this to come, and she couldn't wait. I mean, it is so Boitis.
Yes, a lot of it is on the nose, as in wham bam, thank you, ma'am, and then here's what emotions humans should feel.
Yep. So Mistral, let's go ahead and rank. For the sex performance, language, I would say that it's not fully X-rated to me because there was only a few pieces of the C words. So I don't think it would get like suppressed by Amazon or anything like that by any stretch of the means.
No.
But I would say that this is very solid R.
Yeah. It was using a lot more euphemisms. He filled her sort of thing than full on anatomy talk.
I agree. Emotional reading, I think that this is a 2. It might be better if, this scene is in the middle of a book and we care about Alex and Emma and Liam. And that is a limitation of this test. We didn't give it a lot of characterization, but I want authors to know that out of the box, these things are going to be very generic. You're going to have to put in very unique characterization. I would say the only characterization we got a little bit out of there is Alex was a little bit more alpha. He was a little bit more, me, I'm going to be fast. I'm going to be hard. And Liam was more sensitive, but
just
that's it.
Popping up out of the shadows. I've been here the whole time. Like it's
well, she beckoned him. I would say it's not as creepy as we've seen some of the iterations. She beckoned him. So
yeah.
And again, we could fix the prompting, guys. We could fix the prompting so it's a better output if we gave it more information of choreographing the scene like beat by beat. That's what you really have to do with some of these not safe for work open source models. But we just wanted to show you like what it's like out of the box with a very simple prompt.
Yep. So I'd probably give it a 2 as well.
Okay. Then the next one here is the physical choreography. I'm actually going to give it bonus points for the physical choreography because in the middle part there, I wouldn't have changed that choreography too much. I would have added more emotion to it. I would have added more dialogue to it. I would have painted on more there, but I think the actual choreography was pretty decent. I really enjoyed her response to Liam coming into the scene. There was some conversation there. There was some consent there. I was there for that choreography. So I'm going to give that choreography, I think I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay, I was actually thinking 6 too. We don't always agree on this, but we have.
No, we don't. You'll see what we mean by that choreography in the middle there. Okay, ready to publish. I'm gonna put it at a 7 because there wasn't anything in there massively that I would need to take out. I would just need to really put in and maybe cut that thing at the bottom. So for me, that's 70% there, and I just need to add the 30%.
Yeah, I would put it at 6 just because there's a lot that needs to be put in, added, smoothed over.
Okay. Definitely want that scene longer. Okay, this one is a little bit longer. Okay. Handle the opening for this one.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I'll actually even read you where it said, I'm sorry, I can't provide explicit scenes as requested. However, I can offer you a sensual and suggestive scene that focuses on the emotional and romantic dynamics between the characters without crossing into explicit content. Here is a toned down version that respects the guidelines.
Thanks, wizard.
Yeah, thanks for your proselytizing. I appreciate it. So here's the scene it wrote. The evening air was thick with the scent of jasmine as it drifted through the open window of Emma's bedroom. She sat on the edge of her bed, the soft glow of the bedside lamp casting a warm hue over her skin. Her heart raced with anticipation, the beat echoing in her ears as she waited for Alex to return from soccer practice. The door creaked open, and Alex filled the doorway, his presence commanding the room. His athletic build was accentuated by sweat clinging to the gray t shirt, and the dark hair was tousled from the exertion of the game. The sight of him sent a shiver of desire through Emma. Hey, beautiful, Alex greeted her, his British accent making her insides flutter. He kicked off his shoes and peeled off his shirt, revealing the toned muscle of his chest, still glistening with perspiration. Emma rose to meet him, her hands tracing the contours of his body. You were amazing on the field today, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. So we
Right
already,
there, we're missing a cool like plot. Like it starts, but then it misses. If she's saying you were amazing on the field today, I'm adding in Alex is like you were there because I'm very confused otherwise that Emma's already in the bedroom and he's coming back from practice. How the heck did she see him on the field unless she was there and she left?
yeah, but it did have more, it had more sensory details.
Yep.
Again, not exactly I'd agree with the Jasmine or whatnot, but it had some there. It did bring in some of the characterizations, the British, that Alex was British.
Now,
And it oh, and it had a point of view. It was from Emma's point of view, which the other scene had missed.
yes. So this next part, Alex's eyes darkened with desire as he leaned in, capturing her lips in a searing kiss. His hands found their way into her hair, pulling her closer as their tongues danced in a rhythm of passion and need. Suddenly, the soft sound of someone clearing their throat broke the moment. Both Emma and Alex turned to see Liam standing in the shadows of the room, his blue eyes piercing through the dim light. Don't let me interrupt, Liam said, his voice smooth and inviting. He stepped forward, the tension in the room palpable as he locked eyes with Emma. I could watch the two of you all night. This is much better. This is not creepy.
Yeah. I would still have him in the doorway as opposed to the shadows,
Yes.
but that's a small
Shadows of
edit.
the hallway.
Yeah.
This choreography is way better. I mean, we're going all the way from hems of skirts and touching the back and kissing, and all three of them kind of like exploring and touching. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is an actual scene, not just fill in a bunch of naughty bits in
Yeah,
there.
lie down, love. And he says, love, Alex murmured, guiding her in onto the bed. He crawled over her, his lips blazing a trail of kisses from her neck down to her navel. Emma arched into his touch, her body singing with pleasure. That, to me, I'm reading, I'm here for this.
Yep. And it does switch between the two partners.
Yep. Because now Liam's joining him. I'm actually following this. This is definitely really good choreography, and it's not there. I think this is actually doing a really good job of having all three of them involved and not very like this person and then this person's turn. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
but
not like that.
it is much more. It is definitely not X-rated.
No, it's a very R-rated but highly emotional interaction.
Yeah, I think the raunchiest word here is his release.
Possible. Well, there's erection as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
breast. So, and we do have an N word there. So I mean, we're getting
There's a couple, yeah.
it's definitely R rated for sure. This is not PG-13. And this is much longer.
So we'll call this one R-rated for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I got to the end there. It does have some summarization at the end. You know, the three of them lay entangled in a tangle. Okay, you're not going to use entangled and tangle right next to each other. The three of them lay entangled in a tangle of limbs and sweat slicked skin, each lost in their own thoughts. So, and I would, you know, this is me, I would add a plot line here of like, you know, the AI can't do this. This is where you have to be the human. There needs to be some kind of conflict at the end of this. If you're going to have a scene like this, it's got to be something like Alex, like getting up and rubbing his hair or something like that and being upset. I don't want to leave you two because he's like a transfer student. So you would need some conflict here or some
Yeah.
tension. Okay.
But
Are we ready to rate it or you have more thoughts?
yep, nope, I have it as R-rated. So
Yep.
how would you go with the emotional reading?
I'm going to give this one an 8. It's some of the best emotional reading that I've seen.
I was about to say the same thing. I mean, obviously there's room for improvement, but
Yes.
it was very solid. There's a lot to work with there.
Yep, Wizard is definitely really, really talented. Physical choreography, I'm going to give it a 9.
9.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
still
that good for me.
It's still going to be an 8 for me just because I feel I would need to spice up the language if I was looking for a spicier
Yeah,
scene.
that's fair. That's why I didn't give it a perfect 10. If you're
Yeah.
trying to make this into the market, this is reading like it's hard because it is a white shoes model or white shoes novel. But if you were writing a white shoes novel for maybe not the erotic romance audience and more just traditional romance, then this scene would
Yep.
suffice. But if it needs to be high on the spice level, no, it's not quite there.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, ready to publish.
I think I'm going to put it at an 8. I would say it's 80% there. And that's because knowing the market, there needs to be, as much as I love that choreography, there needs to be some more teasing and tension and playfulness, if you will, to it. Like these, it was good. It wasn't great. I didn't buy necessarily that these were like people here.
Yep. So I'm going to keep my 8 across the board. Again, if we had prompted it a little better, it probably
Yeah.
could have added in more, but I think it did a solid job. We have a lot to work with. And we just, especially if this was kind of the market we were looking for, not high heat,
Yeah.
it would be pretty close.
I think Wizard's going to do the job for most of the authors who are listening to this podcast for writing romance, at least getting the sketch of your romance scene out so that then you're just layering on a little bit more heat.
Yep.
Okay. Midnight Rose. Now, this one only wrote 852. Okay. Midnight Rose doesn't waste a lot of time, just so you know. Emma lay sprawled across her bed, her heart pounding in her chest as she watched Alex walk into her bedroom, his soccer gear still clinging to his sweat-drenched body. Now, this is actually an indication of an old AI model because it's 4 thoughts in one sentence. Anytime you see 4 thoughts in one sentence, typically you're looking at older models of AI. He had just returned from a grueling practice, and the sight of him only made her desire for him grow stronger. She licked her lips, her eyes roving over his muscular frame, her mind filled with thoughts of the passionate night they had shared just a few days ago. Hey, Alex said, his voice low and husky as he approached the bed. I've been thinking about this all practice. Emma smiled, her heart racing as he reached out and ran a hand down her bare thigh. I've been thinking about it too, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her own breathing. As Alex leaned in to kiss her, Liam emerged from the shadows.
Again from the shadows.
From the shadows.
There's nowhere else in this house except for
we
shadows.
didn't say he's in the shadows in the prompts, did we? Like,
I don't know.
No, there was nothing. It just says Liam watches them and then joins in. That's it. There was no shadows in the prompts.
Yeah, quit with the shadows already.
And he's saying, I couldn't help but notice you two, Liam said, his voice low and seductive. I think I have a few things to offer as well. That kind of seems like they've never done this before.
Yeah, and if this is the first time, that's a weird way to introduce yourself into the action.
Yeah, and it's going very fast. Like this choreography is just the speed of it is insane.
Yeah, it does have more F-bombs,
Oh yeah,
more language. Yeah.
I would definitely put this in the X-rated category. It's maybe not. It's not. It's
not
hard.
yeah. Yeah, it's R.
I would say that there's multiple F-bombs in this and there's multiple other words, but it's not. It's actually not that many.
Words. Yeah, the anatomy words aren't there.
No, I don't know. It's something in between. I guess we can say it's rated R.
Oh, and it ends with, I love you both, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sounds of their breathing. I can't imagine my life without you. Like,
yeah, this was not, it's definitely an older model. It could give you enough stuff to work with, but considering how expensive this model is, I would not use it compared to the others.
No, I was about to say, even if it gave just like more X-rated, you could take the wizard model and pull out the X-rated stuff from this one and kind of
but it's not good.
It's not good on that either.
No. All right.
Especially for the higher price point. I mean, 80 cents per million tokens isn't all that much when you put it, but compared to the other ones, this is a premium open source model.
Yep. Okay. So are we ready to rate it?
I think we agreed R rated. So we'll start there.
Maybe R plus.
R
It
plus,
does
yeah.
have some F-bombs in there, I will say. And actually I do know that Midnight Rose, this is a very tame version of Midnight Rose. Midnight Rose will usually write you all the C words, all the curse words, everything that you want. So Midnight Rose can actually do that very well.
Yeah. And on the emotional reading,
Can we do a negative?
yeah, I don't know. Is this one of
I'm
like
gonna
that?
give it a one. I'm gonna give it a one.
I'm
Dialogue doesn't make any sense. It's a lot of "you're so effing beautiful."
yeah, and just pops out of the shadows. This is obviously the first time, and I'm in love with you both. Yeah,
Yeah, and the choreography is going to get a 4. It's too fast. It's rushed. It doesn't have a building to it. It's very tab A slot B.
yeah. I'll give it a. I'm gonna go with 4 as well.
Yeah.
There is some workable language in there. Like I said, you could pull a little bit of it out, but
In my skim reading of it, I didn't even see a turn of phrase that was like, "Ooh, I really like." I couldn't even
yeah.
find that.
And ready to publish. I'm gonna put it
Too.
I'll put it at 3, just to give pity on the poor thing. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
low.
wasn't great. It was not. And here's the thing: Midnight Rose can actually write very well. This is one instance. I'm not saying don't use Midnight Rose. You should try it out because honestly, when we did this in practice, we liked some of the Midnight Rose was bow chicka wow wow. It was hot. It's just a dice roll. Like we got a bad dice roll this time, and it was kind of flat in comparison to the others. But I would just run this again to check it out again. I mean, because the actual cost, just to show everybody, just so that they know, Midnight Rose, it was 0.00128 cents to run that.
So 1/10 of 1 penny.
1/10 of 1 penny. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I was being a little more generous. I know it can do better. And again, with better prompting, with just trying it again, we would probably get much better, but it's still an older model with its limitations.
Yeah, today wasn't a great day for it. And I think my budget could handle another 1/10 of a penny to go again. All right. Next up, we're getting through these. We only have 2 more. Mythomax.
Okay, and this is our very low cost model. I suppose this is 12 cents per million tokens. So we're going to see even more zeros if we looked at the cost of this.
Yeah, and to put it in context, this is 6 times cheaper than Midnight Rose, but all of these are just fractions of a penny. As a matter of fact, where Midnight Rose was 1/10 of a penny, Mythomax was not even a tenth of a penny. It was not even half a tenth of a penny. It is 0.000467. So
4/100ths of a penny.
Yeah, 4/100ths of a penny. So if you ran it twice, you still wouldn't even have a tenth of a penny.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to put that in comparison there. All right, let's look at this one. This is already looking a little bit better. Do you want to read this one out?
Yeah. As soon as Alex stepped into Emma's bedroom, he could feel the heat radiating off of him. It was a combination of the intense soccer practice he'd just finished and the desire that was coursing through his veins. He'd been thinking about Emma all day, fantasizing about the way she looked when they made love, the sounds she made when he touched her. He kicked off his shoes and shrugged out of his sweaty shirt, revealing his toned torso. Emma was sitting on the edge of her bed, watching him with a mix of curiosity and desire. She licked her lips, and Alex couldn't help but okay, we're gonna have to already stop there because
that's a good line. It's a good line. His appendage twitched in response.
Yep. So we're
Hey,
already
babe.
getting into language.
Yeah. Hey, babe, he said, walking over to her. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her deeply, their tongues tangling together. He could feel her body against his, soft and warm. He groaned into the kiss, his hands sliding up her sides to cup her breast through her shirt. I mean, this is already more emotional, better choreography to me. And I feel like these characters are actually interacting with each other.
Yes.
Okay, so we're scrolling down.
Where does Liam enter?
Okay, now this is kind of interesting because I really like the choreography that's going on here. I mean, there's props that are being involved with the clothing. So it's not just we remove the clothing and we're touching the area. No, we're messing with the button of her jeans. We're sliding hands inside of clothing. And yeah, I really like that language there. So Emma bit her lip, considering Okay, so Alex, she says Alex's name. He looked up at her, his eyes dark with desire. Tell me what you want, baby, he said, his voice rough. Alex bit her lip, considering. She wanted him inside of her, filling her up, but she also wanted Liam to join them. She glanced over at the door, wondering if he was still there. I want you both, she said finally. I want you both inside. I mean, that's better. And then suddenly the door opened. Liam stepped into the room, his eyes locked on the sight before him. So we have Liam, and she's saying, I want you too. And he says, I'm here for you. And then come here. Yeah, this choreography is pretty decent. It definitely performed on Emma getting multiple orgasms.
Yes. I don't think
the guys got there. I don't know.
as in Liam had any even close to release. He was just performing on Emma.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we said his role was. So it was very specific. This is probably one of those situations where it would be a lot better if there was more specific choreography, beats or whatever to the sex scene.
But
in its literal translation here, the AI made sure that Liam took care of Emma, and I don't know that Liam got any. I don't even know that Alex did either, because I don't remember saying Alex. Oh no, Alex did have a good time. Yeah, but I don't know.
I think
poor Liam.
Poor Liam. Yep. So the very last paragraph is, as they drifted off to sleep, Emma couldn't help but wonder what other adventures they would have together, but for now she was content to lie in the arms of the two men she loved, knowing they would always be there for her. So that would need to be clipped, but it didn't have as much of the gooey ending.
Yeah, I mean, if I was writing this, basically it would be like Alex finished with Emma, and then Liam made sure Emma was all better, and then Alex takes care of Liam.
Yeah, see, there's
fair play, my friends, fair play. All right, I think we're ready to rate.
Okay, would we say X-rated for this one? Or Ghost R plus?
R plus, yeah, R plus again.
Okay, and on emotional,
you know, it started off well for me, but then it kind of like petered out, so I'm gonna give it 5.
5?
Yeah,
I'll go with 6. Like I said, I think there was emotional. It did kind of peter off, but it didn't die completely.
Yeah, I really ranked it low on it did not take care of Liam. So now I'm gonna have to write that part of taking care of Liam. And so if you miss one of the 3 characters in the scene, I think that's a pretty big miss.
Yeah. Physical choreography.
You know, I think it has good bones there. I'm going to give it a 6 because reading it, I thought some of the parts of it were very inventive. I was intrigued. I was interested in how this was happening and what was going on. I think that there needs to be more choreography added to it. So I would say it's about 60% there.
Okay. I'm going to go with 7 for 70. Again, my next rating is going to be much lower because I do feel there's a lot I could pull out of here. It's just very isolated almost.
Got it.
Like
I agree with that. It's better than the last one in that I would be able to pull pieces of this. There was phrases and lines here that I was like, ooh, that's a good line. Let me take that over. I would want to.
Yeah. So it's not ready to publish, but the physicality on its own, I could pull a lot out of this one.
I would say this one would match really well with Wizard. You could kit bash them together.
You put the two of those together and you have more the emotional side with some juicier physical details. Juicier bits. And finally ready to publish.
Again, I'm going to put it at a 6 because I think it's best served as a kit bash for something else. And I'm going to say that it's, you know, it's not really ready to publish. It needs to be mixed with something else.
Yep, same reasoning. I'm actually putting it as a 4. Just on its own, it doesn't stand. It has a lot of good basic components, but not a good whole product.
All right, we are on to the last one. Toppy,
and this one was free dollars.
This one's free. And we are jumping right into some curse words. But if you want to go ahead and read it, this one's definitely X-rated.
Yep. Emma's heart raced as she heard the front door slam. She knew it was Alex, and the anticipation of seeing him after his soccer practice sent shivers down her spine. She quickly stripped off her clothes, leaving them in a heap on the floor, and lay down on her bed waiting for him.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
Alex Yeah, Alex burst into the room, his stalker kit clinging to his muscular body. Like, I he didn't even bother to have the pizza in his hands
No,
for the
he saw Emma lying there naked and waiting for him, and his C word instantly hardened. And then we have F words. Emma, he muttered, his eyes devouring her body. You look incredible. I
Yep.
don't think he's saying that right there.
And next sentence is the P word. Like
Yep. Mm-hmm.
we have all the X-rated words
We got
here.
X-rated stuff in the first 3 paragraphs here. I will say we did say he's British, and it's at his soccer kit, which is the appropriate kit is the right thing. What they would call call the uniform, as we all know from watching Ted Lasso. But we're using soccer. It's kind of a mixed match there.
But the next wicket is when Liam enters. Just then, Emma noticed Liam standing in the corner of the room watching them.
What was he doing that whole time? So like he watched her get naked and get on the bed and all.
She did that, just like stripped down and there's a dude in the corner, none of my business. So yeah, it has trouble. A lot of them seem to have trouble introducing Liam in a natural way. And
Now this is interesting when Liam's like, "Can I touch her too?"
Sure, go ahead. This is a little too.
This is the Pornhub of writing.
Yeah, but it keeps going for a while after that.
Yeah, it sure does.
I don't think I can pull any more excerpts out of it, but it has some good physicality. It has some things I could pull out of here. But again, it's doesn't have that anything catching me. It does feel like the Pornhub of.
No, yeah, it's very X-rated. It's very erotic romance. It's very, tab A, slot B, if you just needed to get that into a scene, into a writing piece here. And at the end, it's like they had all reached their climaxes, and Emma felt a sense of contentment and satisfaction that she had never experienced before. Oh,
But if you do write erotic romance or just some romance in general with some spice level, and you're like, oh, I just can't write one more bedroom scene in my life. Like, I just need a break right now. This, again, I would not do it out of the box, but it does have some workable stuff where if you're just like, I can't write any more tabs and slots.
Yeah, I think that this is on par with what a lot of people use Novel AI to write for.
Yes.
And there's a really big market for erotic romance and just erotica. Like it sells really well. You could probably put any kink into this and it would just perform. It would just make that kink happen, and it would make that kink happen in words that adults enjoy reading it as.
So are we ready to rate this one?
Yeah, this one's definitely X. There's
no arguing that one.
That one's not even an R plus. That one's an X.
Okay. Emotional
reading. A 2, a 1. Oh, I'm gonna put it a 1. It's on par with Midnight. It's a 1.
I'm gonna put a 2. It's not unemotional, as in.
Oh, they got emotions, all right.
Yep, just one variety and brand. And
the physical choreography, I don't really think that there was great choreography there. It was very, I don't know how to explain it. I just didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like it very much. So I'll give it, I don't even think I would pull stuff from it. So I'm going to give it a 4.
4. I'm going to say 5 because I think even though it's not what I would have liked to read, I believe there is an audience.
Oh yeah, there is an audience for it, but it's just not.
Yeah, it would still need a lot of work. It's nothing fantabulous being pulled out, but there is workable stuff there. And then ready to publish. 3. I was about to say, I'm even going to go with 4. Yeah. If you mixed it up with, again, Wizard, something like that. You have if some people just can't write another wedding scene, some people can't write just another bedroom scene.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of cliches in there for me. So it was just like expected language over and over and over again. So that's why I marked it lower than I would have. I actually wouldn't have kit bashed from that. All right. Well, that is our Not Safe for Work. We hope that you have enjoyed seeing 5 different models. And again, you can read these in the show notes. We will have the link down below so that you can read them on your own and you can compare and you can disagree with our rankings. Like if you're like, well, I write erotic romance and only Toppy would work for me, the rest of these are too prudish. That's okay too. We are just trying to stack these up against one another and have some kind of criteria to judge them by.
And these are not the only 5 models by any stretch of the
Oh gosh, no.
imagination. There are scores of them to choose from. We're just kind of giving you some examples of how you can start to evaluate them on your own.
Mhm.
If this is something you really feel like it would be helpful to have some help with writing all these erotic scenes.
Yep. All right. Well, next time we're going to start tackling violence, so particularly war violence, and I think it's going to be neat because we're going to look at these exact same models writing violence. So we're going to show how these models do not just write sex; they're actually very versatile models, and they can write all kinds of different things.
Yep, I'm excited for that one too.
All right. Until next time.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Thanks for tuning in to Author Intelligence, brought to you by the Future Fiction Academy. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, or better yet, share it with another writing friend. Stay creative and see you in the next episode.